Hello and welcome to DSW's Endpoint Assessment for the Level 7 Senior Leader Standard. My name's Isobel, I'm a product owner at DSW and I'll be talking you through this standard today. This recording is designed to give you an overview of what will happen during endpoint assessment, what to expect, when it will take place, and also how apprentices can prepare and what support is available. By the end of this, you should have a clear understanding of how the process will work and what the requirements are. And of course, if there are any questions or anything you need more information on, we'll show you where to go for additional support at the end of the recording. Today, we'll be discussing what the endpoint assessment process looks like, how and when it will be delivered, what happens during the assessment itself, and we'll go into more detail about the Senior Leader Standard, how each assessment method works, and how it will be graded. When does endpoint assessment happen? For this standard, endpoint assessment can be triggered when the on-programme phase is complete, Level 2 Maths and English have been achieved, the portfolio is completed, strategic business proposal summary has been agreed by the assessor, and it's been agreed that the apprentice is competent. The next stage is called Gateway, and this is where the apprentice needs to be prepared for endpoint assessment. What happens during endpoint assessment? The apprentice completes the assessments detailed in the assessment plan. There is still an expectation that the apprenticeship training provider will support apprentices throughout the endpoint assessment period. This is to ensure they're familiar with what's to come, and so mock exams can be completed with them. In order to pass and be deemed competent, the apprentice must pass all of the assessments. This typically happens over a period of 5 months from the point they're approved for Gateway. This standard is made up of knowledge, skills and behaviours, and these are mapped to 19 pass and 7 distinction descriptors, which have been allocated to specific assessment methods. All descriptors must be fully met in order to pass the standard. The mapping document in the toolkit details which descriptors are assessed by each method and provides detailed information on what's required in order to fully meet each descriptor. All evidence submitted must be clearly labelled, dated and referenced. All documents should be amended or redacted appropriately to ensure confidentiality and data protection are adhered to, and that no GDPR breaches occur. The Gateway requirements include the submission of a portfolio of evidence and the completed Strategic Business Proposal Summary document, which is available in the toolkit. The Senior Leader Endpoint Assessment consists of 2 assessment methods: Strategic Business Proposal, Presentation and Questioning, and the professional discussion underpinned by portfolio of evidence. We'll look at each method in a bit more detail now. Strategic Business Proposal Presentation with Questioning. The apprentice should produce a report on their strategic business proposal. This is a relevant and defined piece of work that has a real business benefit. All work on the proposal should be completed post-Gateway once the summary outlining the subject title and scope has been agreed. Proposals should be based on one of the following subject areas: implementing a change plan over a set period, developing an area of the business, implementing a direct saving, a strategic investment, improving team performance, or reviewing and amending strategies, policies, or processes. The strategic business proposal does not need to be fully implemented during the EPA period, but must be a comprehensive strategic business proposal that will enable full implementation at an appropriate time for the organisation. The Strategic Business Proposal Summary document, which can be found in the toolkit, confirms which descriptors are assessed in the Strategic Business Proposal Presentation with Questioning. It should be submitted at Gateway to allow the assessor to review the subject title and scope of the proposal and confirm that it covers the required descriptors. The independent assessor will review the summary and confirm that it allows the apprentice the opportunity to evidence all of the KSBs and associated grading criteria. Once the assessor has approved the strategic business proposal, the apprentice will have 12 weeks to carry out work on the proposal and submit a report and presentation material along with the referencing table. Reports submitted after this date will be failed and the assessment will be classed as a reset. When planning their strategic business proposal, apprentices should pay close attention to the wording of the descriptors and ensure that the plan proposal will allow them to fully meet the descriptors. More information on this can be found in the toolkit. Once the summary has been approved, the apprentice has 12 weeks to work on their strategic business proposal and produce a 3,600 to 4,400 word report and prepare a presentation. Details of the presentation are provided on the next slide. The Strategic Business Proposal Declaration and Referencing document, which can also be found in the toolkit, should be submitted with the proposal report and presentation materials a maximum of 12 weeks after the summary is approved. The declarations on the document must be signed by the apprentice and the employer to confirm the proposal was completed during the 12-week period. They must also confirm it was completely unaided and is the apprentice's own work. The presentation will be delivered to the independent assessor and is designed to expand on the strategic business proposal. It should provide evidence to strengthen the coverage of the grading descriptors from the strategic business proposal report and should include the intended outcomes and impact of the strategic business proposal, how the apprentice undertook the strategic planning, the rationale for the activities, further recommendations for future growth and progress, how the apprentice negotiated with and influenced stakeholders, and senior leader or board agreement to the implementation of the strategic business proposal. The presentation slides must be submitted at the same time as the report. If the slides have notes attached, these can also be submitted. Following submission of the proposal and presentation materials, the assessor will have 2 weeks to assess the report and prepare questions. Feedback will not be provided prior to the presentation with questioning. The presentation should last for a maximum of 26 minutes and will take place on the agreed date and will be followed by a question and answer session. The assessment will last a minimum of 60 minutes with an additional 6 minutes available at the assessor's discretion to allow the apprentice to complete their last answer. In order to ensure that sufficient time is available for the question and answer session, the presentation will be stopped after a maximum of 26 minutes. The assessor will give the apprentice a 2-minute warning before stopping the presentation. Following the presentation, the assessor will ask a minimum of 6 questions, 2 from each of the following themes: research, methodologies and analysis, and communication. These questions will be taken from a bank to ensure consistency. However, the assessor may contextualise these to align them to the apprentice's strategic business proposal. They're designed to confirm the assessor's understanding of the presentation and how it demonstrates the relevant KSBs. For each core question, the assessor may ask 2 follow-up questions. Follow-up questions will typically be used where the assessor does not yet feel a criterion has been fully met or where they are exploring further to see if it could be exceeded. Sample questions have been provided in the toolkit. At the start of the assessment, the apprentice will be asked to verify their identity by showing the assessor photographic ID. They will also be asked to pan the camera around to demonstrate they're in an appropriate environment for the assessment to take place and that they cannot be aided in any way. Audio and video recordings of the presentation with questioning will be kept by DSW for quality purposes. These will then be securely stored and destroyed in line with regulatory and GDPR guidelines. The apprentice should have access to audio-visual presentation equipment, flip chart and writing and drawing materials, and a computer. If they have any other requirements, DSW should be notified of these on submission of the strategic business proposal and presentation. Portfolio of evidence. A portfolio should be compiled on programme with examples of the apprentice's work. The portfolio must be submitted at Gateway and will be used to support the professional discussion, but will not be assessed or graded. The portfolio referencing document, which can be found in the toolkit, details which descriptors are assessed in the professional discussion. The document should be used to map the evidence in the portfolio to the descriptors. The apprentice, the ATP and/or the employer must be confident that the portfolio evidences each of the required descriptors. The portfolio must include at least 1 piece of evidence for each descriptor. Each piece of evidence may map to more than 1 descriptor. The portfolio and referencing table will be submitted at Gateway to DSW, who will review the evidence and use it to help them prepare discussion points for the professional discussion. The portfolio is not graded and feedback will not be provided prior to the professional discussion. A date and time for the professional discussion will be agreed at the planning meeting following Gateway approval. The discussion must be at least 4 weeks after the portfolio submission. The toolkit provides further guidance on what type of evidence can be included in the portfolio and a steer on how to ensure that evidence is sufficient, authentic, relevant and current. Context statement. When we refer to a context statement, we want to know what the apprentice has done in a specific situation, who, what, where, why and when. build a picture behind the situation, and from there they can pull on pieces of product and performance evidence which demonstrate exactly what they've done in relation to their context statement. It's a great way for apprentices to bring all of their evidence together and give a more rounded picture of what they're capable of. They do need to make sure they corroborate what they've said in their context statement with evidence, as it is purely anecdotal. Evidence types. The portfolio must include a minimum of at least one piece of evidence against each of the descriptors. They may have evidence which maps to several descriptors, or may find that some descriptors require several pieces of evidence in order to meet them in full. A piece of evidence may be a single document, or it may be a folder containing several documents which link together. We're looking for quality rather than quantity. Have the apprentices think about examples of specific situations they've been involved in which would allow them to demonstrate multiple areas of the standard. Types of evidence. As you can see, there's a wide range of evidence types, and this list is not exhaustive. We do ask that videos and recordings are a maximum of 2 hours within the portfolio, and they will need to be time-stamped in the referencing table. Professional discussion underpinned by portfolio of evidence. The professional discussion will take place between the independent endpoint assessor and the apprentice and will last for 60 minutes plus an additional 10% at the assessor's discretion. The apprentice may bring a copy of their portfolio into the professional discussion with them. The assessment should be a two-way discussion, and the assessor will ask a minimum of 8 opening discussion prompts based wherever possible on the examples given in the portfolio. Example questions can be found in the toolkit. During the discussion that follows each opening question, the assessor will ask further questions to ensure the apprentice has the opportunity to meet all of the grading criteria. The discussion will be held in an environment free from distraction via an online video conferencing platform such as WebEx or Zoom, as advised by the assessor. You may ask to use an alternative platform if necessary. It's strongly recommended that the platform is tested prior to the date of assessment to avoid technical problems and to ensure familiarity with the platform. The apprentice may bring notes and a copy of their portfolio into the professional discussion for reference. It's recommended that apprentices review the content of the portfolio prior to the professional discussion to make it easier for them to refer to it during the assessment. DSW will issue the grade and feedback to the training provider within 5 working days of the professional discussion. Grading. Each assessment method is graded either distinction, pass or fail as follows. To pass the strategic business proposal presentation with questioning, the apprentice must fully meet all 6 pass descriptors. To achieve distinction in this method, in addition to meeting the pass criteria, the apprentice must meet all 3 distinction descriptors. To pass the professional discussion underpinned by portfolio of evidence, the apprentice must meet all 13 pass descriptors. To achieve distinction in this method, in addition to meeting the pass criteria, the apprentice must meet all 4 distinction descriptors. To achieve an overall pass for the apprenticeship, each assessment method must be graded a minimum of a pass. To achieve an overall distinction, each method must be graded as a distinction. Resits and retakes. The endpoint assessment will typically be completed within 5 months. Apprentices who fail one or more assessment methods will be offered the opportunity to take a resit or retake at the employer's discretion. The apprentice's employer will need to agree that either a resit or retake is an appropriate course of action. A resit does not require further learning, whereas a retake does. Resits and retakes are not offered to apprentices wishing to move from a pass to a higher grade. Where any assessment method has to be resat or retaken, the apprentice will be awarded a maximum grade of a pass unless the EPAO determines that there are exceptional circumstances requiring a resit or retake. The timescales for a resit or retake are agreed between the employer and EPAO. A resit is typically taken within 3 months of the EPA outcome notification. The timescale for a retake is dependent on how much retraining is required. However, any resits or retakes must be taken within 6 months of the EPA outcome notification. Thank you for watching. We hope this has been helpful. As always, we're happy to help if you have any questions or need any more information, so please do get in touch. You can email us at info@dswapprenticeships.co.uk or give us a call on 01302 760 008. Thank you.